Shattered promises,
I've
Oliver
been
Reed stared
looking
at the
forward
financial
to this
projections on his
all
screen,
week.
the red numbers
As you
blurring as
like.
his eyes struggled to focus.
Me too.
48
You
hours
look
without sleep would do that to a
absolutely
person,
stunning
even one who had built a
tonight.
$3.2 billion tech empire from a college dorm room. The Glass Tech Innovation Center, his pride and joy, the manifestation of 15 years of relentless work, was 20 days from complete collapse. The investors are pulling out one by one. His CFO, Patricia, had informed him that morning. The security breach has cost us everything. Without an immediate influx of capital and expertise in quantum encryption, we're done. Oliver loosened his tie and gazed out at the Seattle skyline from his penthouse office. Rain pelted against the floor-to-ceiling windows, matching his mood. He had called every contact, leveraged every relationship, but no one would touch Glass Tech. After hackers had exposed critical flaws in their supposedly unhackable security system, there was one person he hadn't called, one person he had spent years trying to forget, Sophia Jensen. His phone felt unusually heavy as he pulled up her contact information. His assistant had quietly maintained an updated file on her over the years. For networking purposes, he'd told himself, though he never reached out. Now her profile showed she had become one of the most respected quantum security experts in the country, heading her own firm that specialized in rescuing companies from exactly the disaster Glass Tech was facing. The irony wasn't lost on him. 15 years ago, he had walked away from their relationship to pursue his tech dreams, convinced that success required sacrifice. She had wanted him to wait, to build something together. He couldn't, or wouldn't. "You'll regret choosing ambition over love," she had said on that rainy night, so similar to this one. Some things once broken can't be fixed with money. He had laughed then. Money fixed everything. Until now. Oliver's finger hovered over her number. Would she even take his call? The last time they spoke, she had looked at him with such disappointment that he still felt the sting when he allowed himself to remember. He pressed dial before he could change his mind. 3 rings. 4. Then, Jensen Quantum Securities. Her voice was exactly as he remembered. Confident, warm, with that slight rasp that had always sent shivers down his spine. Sophia. His voice cracked. "It's Oliver." The silence that followed seemed endless. "I need your help," he finally continued, hating the desperation in his voice. "Glass Tech is in trouble." Another pause. "I know. It's all over the industry news." Of course she knew. She had always been 3 steps ahead. "I've tried everything, Sophia. You're the only one who can fix this." He heard her soft exhale. "Why would I help you, Oliver? You made your choice very clear when you left." "Because you're the best," he said, swallowing his pride. "And because despite everything, I think you still care about the work, about innovation, about the people who will lose their jobs if Glass Tech fails. You always did know which buttons to push," she said quietly. "Send me the breach details, I'll look them over." Hope surged through him. "Thank you, Don't thank me yet," she interrupted. "I haven't agreed to anything. And Oliver, if I do help you, it won't be on your terms." The line went dead, leaving Oliver staring at his reflection in the darkened window. For the first time in 15 years, something more frightening than failure loomed before him, facing the consequences of the heart he had broken, including his own. The unexpected condition. 3 days later, Oliver found himself in an Uber, traveling away from Seattle's gleaming skyscrapers toward the outskirts of the city. Sophia had finally responded to his detailed breach report with a terse message. "Meet me at 2 p.m. 4217 Cedar Ridge Road. Come alone." The address led to a modest craftsman house nestled among towering pines with a wraparound porch and a view of Lake Washington in the distance. It was nothing like the minimalist penthouse he called home, yet something about it felt instantly familiar. As the car pulled away, Oliver straightened his custom suit and approached the front door. Before he could knock, it swung open. "You're 3 minutes early," Sophia said, appraising him with clear brown eyes that hadn't changed a bit. What had changed was everything else, Gone was the shy graduate student with wild curls and paint-splattered jeans. The woman before him radiated quiet confidence, her hair now cut in a sleek bob that framed sharp cheekbones. She wore a simple linen shirt and dark jeans, no designer, labels in sight, yet she carried herself with more authority than any executive in his boardroom. "Thank you for seeing me," he managed, suddenly feeling like the nervous college sophomore who had once stumbled over his words asking her to coffee. She gestured for him to follow her through the house to the back porch. A pot of tea waited on a small table alongside a stack of papers that he recognized as the Glass Tech security breach details. "Your system architecture was brilliant," she said, pouring tea into mismatched mugs. "But you built the security protocols assuming logical attackers. You forgot that humans are inherently illogical." Oliver accepted the steaming mug. "Can you fix it?" "Yes." She sat across from him, tucking one leg beneath her. "My team already has a framework for a solution." Relief washed over him. "Name your price. Whatever your standard fee is, I'll double it." A small, knowing smile played at her lips. "Money isn't what I want from you, Oliver." "Then what?" She pointed toward the edge of her property, where an ancient oak tree stood. "Do you remember it?" He followed her gaze, confusion giving way to recognition. "The treehouse design. Junior year, that project for sustainable architecture. We were going to build it someday." The memory hit him with unexpected force. Late night sketching plans, her head on his shoulder, dreams spilling between them like stars. "You promised we would build it together when we made it," she said quietly. "Well, you definitely made it and then you left." Oliver swallowed hard. "What exactly are you asking?" "Build the treehouse, Oliver, exactly as we designed it. Not with contractors or your money, with your hands. While you do that, my team will rebuild your security system." He stared at her, certain he had misheard. "You want me to build a treehouse? Sophia, I don't have time for this. My company is weeks from bankruptcy. My team starts when you start. We finish when you finish." Her voice was calm but resolute. "Those are my terms." "This is ridiculous," he said, standing abruptly. "I'm not a carpenter. I haven't built anything with my hands since we were together," she finished. "That's precisely the point." "Why? What does this prove?" She regarded him thoughtfully. "The Oliver I knew understood that anything worth having required personal investment, not just writing checks. You wanted my help? This is my price, the treehouse built by you following our original plans. And if I refuse, then find someone else to save your company." She gathered the papers. "You're not the only client seeking our services." Oliver paced the deck, calculations racing through his mind. His board would think he'd lost his mind. Patricia would be furious. But without Sophia's help. "How long will it take?" he asked finally. "Depends on how quickly you remember how to use something other than a keyboard." She stood and handed him a thumb drive. "The original blueprints. I've kept them all these years." Their fingers brushed during the exchange, a fleeting touch that somehow carried the weight of all their unspoken history. "The lumber will be delivered tomorrow," she continued. "I recommend wearing something other than that $3,000 suit." Oliver slipped the drive into his pocket, a strange mixture of indignation and curiosity stirring within him. "I'll be here at 8 a.m. "I know you will," she replied, and for the briefest moment, he caught a glimpse of the girl who had once believed in him more than he believed in himself. "After all, you have everything to lose." As he walked back to his waiting car, Oliver couldn't decide what unsettled him more, the unexpected condition or the fact that, beneath his frustration, he felt the first genuine spark of interest he'd experienced in years. Building more than wood. The first week of construction was a disaster. Oliver arrived in brand new work clothes that made him look like a model in a rugged lifestyle photo shoot, rather than someone who knew what they were doing. His hands, accustomed to touchscreens and boardroom handshakes, blistered within hours. By sunset on day one, he had accomplished little more than sorting lumber and nursing wounded pride. "You're overthinking it," Sophia observed from her porch where she worked on her laptop while keeping an eye on his progress. Your brain wants perfection before you've even started. I run a tech company. Precision matters, Oliver grumbled, examining a crooked cut that would need to be redone. And yet here you are, unable to build a simple foundation. Her words carried no malice, just simple truth. Perhaps you've forgotten that innovation requires making mistakes first. Each morning, Oliver arrived with growing determination. He'd spend nights watching woodworking tutorials, his penthouse coffee table covered with sketches and notes. During the day, Sophia maintained professional distance, answering his occasional questions with patience, but never offering to help. Her team sent daily updates on GlassTech's security rebuild, progress directly proportional to his own on the treehouse. By the second week, blisters had hardened to calluses. The foundation took shape, and with it, a routine emerged. Oliver found himself waking before his alarm, eager for the simple satisfaction of tangible progress. The notifications on his phone faded to background noise as hours passed in focused work. On the 10th day, Sophia brought lunch to the oak tree, simple sandwiches and lemonade in mason jars. You've made progress, she noted, handing him a sandwich. Oliver wiped sweat from his brow, suddenly conscious of his appearance. Unshaven, tanned from the outdoor work, t-shirt stained with sweat and sawdust. The last time I built something with my hands was that bookshelf for your apartment, he said, accepting the food. Remember how it collapsed when you put your textbooks on it? A genuine laugh escaped her, the first he'd heard since returning. Professor Harrington's quantum mechanics textbook was the final straw. You were so upset. I went back and rebuilt it that weekend while you were visiting your parents. She nodded, the memory clearly preserved. You were always determined once. You set your mind to something. They ate in companionable silence, watching clouds drift across the summer sky. Finally, Oliver asked the question that had been nagging him. Why this, Sophia? Of all the things you could have asked for? She considered his question, twisting the mason jar in her hands. When people achieve success, they often outsource the very things that once brought them joy and purpose. They pay others to build their dreams while they manage from a distance. She looked directly at him. I wanted to know if you remembered how to create something with your own hands, not just direct others to build it for you. Oliver glanced at his calloused palms. And what's your professional assessment so far? You're learning, she said simply. Now tell me about these support beams. They don't match our original design. I improved them, he admitted. The original design didn't account for the tree's growth patterns. This adaptation allows for movement without compromising structural integrity. A smile touched her lips. You've been studying. I still know how to research a problem, he said. Even without Google at my fingertips. As weeks passed, the treehouse took shape, a hexagonal structure embracing the mighty oak with large windows and a small covered porch. Oliver found himself lingering later each evening, reluctant to return to his empty penthouse. One night, as sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, Sophia joined him on the half-finished platform. Your company's new security system is coming along well, she said. Patricia called today. She seemed surprised by your continued absence. Patricia is always surprised when I'm not working, he replied, driving in a final nail. I used to think that's all that mattered, and now? Oliver leaned back against the tree trunk, feeling its solid presence. Now I'm not sure. There's something about building this, seeing daily progress, making decisions that don't affect stock prices, working with my hands, that feels real, she suggested. Meaningful, he corrected. I'd forgotten what that feels like. Sophia studied him, her expression unreadable in the fading light. The Oliver I knew always found meaning in creation, not acquisition. That Oliver was naive, he said quietly. That Oliver was passionate, she countered. He believed technology could improve lives, not just make money. The words hit closer than he expected. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed with Patricia's name on the screen. The 5th call that hour. You should take that, Sophia said, standing to leave. Corporate emergencies wait for no treehouse. As she descended the ladder, Oliver watched her go, struck by an uncomfortable realization. He was beginning to care more about her opinion of his craftsmanship than his board's opinion of his leadership. And somehow, that terrified him more than the prospect of losing everything he'd built. Storm warning's dark clouds gathered on the horizon as Oliver secured the last window in place. The treehouse was nearly complete, a testament to 6 weeks of labor that had transformed both the structure and its builder. His designer suits hung forgotten in his closet. His hands now moved with the confidence of someone who had rediscovered an old skill. His phone vibrated against his hip. Patricia again. Tell me you've got good news, he answered, eyes tracking the approaching storm. Define good, Patricia replied, her voice tight with stress. The board called an emergency meeting tomorrow. Westbrook is making moves to force a vote of no confidence. Oliver pinched the bridge of his nose. James Westbrook, his co-founder and now chief rival on the board, had been waiting years for an opportunity like this. The security rebuild is almost complete, Oliver said. Tell them I'll be there. That's just it, Patricia hesitated. Westbrook's saying the Jensen solution won't be enough. He's pushing for a complete company reorganization, with him at the helm. Rain began to fall, gentle at first, then heavier. Oliver ducked inside the treehouse, watching water streak down the windows. He'd installed that morning. What time tomorrow? 9 a.m. And Oliver? Come prepared for war. The call ended, leaving him alone with the drumming of rain on the cedar roof. He'd built this place sturdy. It would weather the storm. His company's future wasn't nearly as certain. Bad news? Sophia stood at the entrance, rain darkening her shoulders. She carried a small potted plant and what looked like curtain material. Board politics, he said, making room for her. Westbrook's making his move. Ah, the infamous James. She set her items down. The man who wanted to pivot glass tech into military contracts 3 years ago. Oliver raised an eyebrow. You've been keeping tabs on my company? I keep tabs on the entire industry, she corrected, hanging a set of simple linen curtains. Knowing the players is part of my job. Thunder rolled in the distance as they worked. In silence, Sophia arranging small touches that transformed the raw wood structure into something more like a sanctuary. A cushioned window seat, a small shelf, the potted plant, lavender, now filling the space with its calming scent. Why are you doing this? Oliver finally asked. The treehouse is essentially finished. Your team has rebuilt our security. Our arrangement is complete. Sophia ran her hand along the smooth wooden railing he'd spent days perfecting. You did good work here, Oliver. Better than I expected. You didn't answer my question. She turned to face him, backlit by a flash of lightning. Maybe I wanted to see if you'd actually finish it. The Oliver I knew 15 years ago would have. The billionaire who showed up on my doorstep? I wasn't so sure. And now? Now I think you remember who you were before the money. She gestured around them. This place has your soul in it. Something in her words struck a chord deep within him. For weeks he'd told himself he was building this treehouse to save his company. But somewhere along the way, the work had become about something else entirely. I have to go back tomorrow, he said. Westbrook is... I know about Westbrook's plans, she interrupted. He approached my firm 3 months ago before your security breach. Oliver stilled. What? He wanted us to find vulnerabilities in your system. We refused. And you didn't tell me this because... Sophia met his gaze steadily. Because you needed to finish what you started here first. Because the man who could stand against Westbrook isn't the desperate CEO who came to my door. It's the builder who remembered why he created glass tech in the first place. The implications hit Oliver like a physical blow. You think Westbrook orchestrated the breach? I think tomorrow's board meeting isn't about security at all. It's about the soul of your company. She moved toward the entrance. The question is which Oliver Reed will show up to fight for it. She paused at the ladder, rain framing her silhouette. The security rebuild is complete. The files were sent to your team an hour ago. Sophia, wait. He reached for her, but she was already descending. Oliver stood alone in the treehouse, thunder echoing his turbulent thoughts. On the small shelf Sophia had installed sat a leather-bound notebook he hadn't noticed before. Opening it, he found their original sketches for the treehouse, alongside newer pages. Business plans, design concepts, innovations that made his heart race with their brilliance and simplicity. The final page held a note in Sophia's precise handwriting. Some dreams are worth rebuilding. Some partnerships, too. Outside, the storm intensified, rain lashing against his creation. Inside, for the first time in 15 years, Oliver felt the stirrings of something he'd thought long sacrificed on the altar of success. Possibility. His phone lit up with urgent messages from Patricia, financial projections, board meeting preparations. Once these would have consumed him. Now they seemed distant compared to the words on the page before him and the realization of what he truly stood to lose or gain, depending on the choices he made next. As lightning split the sky, Reed made a decision that would either save everything he'd built or lose it all in one bold move. Foundations that last. The GlassTech boardroom fell silent as Oliver entered. Not in his expected custom suit, but in a simple button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, jeans and work boots still bearing traces of sawdust. His tan face and calloused hands stood in stark contrast to the polished executives seated around the mahogany table. "Interesting fashion choice, Oliver," James Westbrook remarked, his perfectly tailored suit and manicured appearance emphasizing the contrast. "Trying a new corporate image?" "You could say that," Oliver replied, placing not a sleek laptop but a weathered notebook on the table. "I've been building something." Patricia shot him a concerned look as he remained standing rather than taking his usual seat at the head of the table. "Before we begin the official meeting," Oliver continued, "I'd like to address the elephant in the room. Our security breach wasn't random or accidental." Murmurs rippled through the room. Westbrook's expression remained carefully neutral. 3 months ago, someone approached Jensen Quantum Securities, asking them to find vulnerabilities in our system. When they refused, this individual found less ethical hackers to do the job. Oliver's gaze settled on Westbrook. "Isn't that right, James?" Westbrook's smile tightened. "That's a serious accusation without evidence." "The evidence is being delivered to the SEC and FBI as we speak," Oliver replied calmly, "including records of offshore payments and communications with the hacker group." The boardroom erupted in sudden chaos. As executives fired questions and Westbrook attempted denials, Oliver remained unnaturally calm, a stillness he'd learned during long hours of careful, patient woodworking. "You've lost your mind," Westbrook finally sputtered. "Even if these ridiculous claims were true, this company is still on the brink of collapse. Your precious security fix is too little, too late." "You're right about one thing," Oliver conceded, opening the leather notebook. "GlassTech needs more than a security patch. It needs a complete rebuild of its foundation." With that, he outlined a bold vision, not of expansion or acquisition, but of transformation. The notebook contained designs for a revolutionary approach to sustainable technology infrastructure, combining GlassTech security capabilities with ethical AI frameworks and renewable energy integration. "These aren't just concepts," he explained, passing detailed schematics around the table. "These are market-ready innovations that will position GlassTech not just as a security company, but as a pioneer in technological sustainability." The board members leaned forward, skepticism giving way to interest as Oliver spoke with a passion many hadn't seen since the company's founding days. "Where did this come from?" Patricia asked, reviewing the impressive projections. "From remembering why I started this company," Oliver replied. "Not to make billions, but to build something meaningful." As the meeting concluded 3 hours later, with Westbrook facing suspension pending investigation, and the board unanimously approving Oliver's new direction, Patricia pulled him aside. "I don't know what happened to you these past weeks," she said, But welcome back. This is the Oliver Reed who inspired me to join GlassTech 10 years ago. Oliver smiled. There's one more thing I need to do today. Can you handle the press release? The afternoon sun cast long shadows as Oliver's car pulled up to the cedar-shingled house. The treehouse stood proud against the blue sky, a testament to perseverance and rediscovered purpose. But the driveway was empty, the house silent. On the porch, he found a small envelope with his name. Inside was a key and a short note. Had to fly to London for an emergency consult. Back in a week. The treehouse is officially finished. Congratulations. S. Disappointment washed over him until he noticed a postscript. P.S. Check your email for the Jensen Quantum Securities Partnership proposal. Some dreams are bigger than treehouses. His phone buzzed with an incoming email. Sophia's proposal for a joint venture between their companies, combining her security expertise with his newly articulated vision. The project name at the top of the document made his breath catch. Foundation. Without hesitation, Oliver used the key to let himself into her home and settled at her kitchen table. For the next 5 hours, he refined and expanded her proposal, adding his own insights, leaving comments and questions in the margins. This wasn't about saving his company anymore. It was about building something new, together. When exhaustion finally overtook him, he fell asleep on her couch, the proposal complete beside him. He dreamed not of stock prices or board meetings, but of a treehouse swaying gently in the breeze, large enough for 2 dreamers. 7 days later, as dawn broke over the lake, Oliver sat in the treehouse, a thermos of coffee beside him. He'd come every morning making small improvements, a better ladder, a tiny deck extension, a weatherproof box for books and blankets. The sound of tires on gravel roused him from his thoughts. Through the window, he watched Sophia emerge from a taxi, looking weary from travel but somehow more beautiful than he remembered. She paused at the base of the oak, noticing the improvements, then began to climb the ladder. When she reached the platform, her eyes widened at the sight of Oliver waiting. "You're trespassing," she said, but a smile played at her lips. "I prefer to think of it as a surprise inspection," he replied, offering her coffee. The builder wanted to ensure quality. She accepted the thermos, her fingers brushing his. "And how does it measure up?" "It's a good start," he said, "but I think it needs something more." "Such as?" Oliver took a deep breath. "A shared purpose. A foundation for something bigger than either of us could build alone." He handed her a revised copy of her partnership proposal, now twice as thick and bearing both their company logos. "I had a lot of time to think this week," he continued, "about what I walked away from 15 years ago, about what matters. I built this treehouse because you demanded it, but I finished it because it reminded me who I am, who we were together." Sophia flipped through the pages, her expression unreadable. "This is much more than a security partnership. Because what I want is much more than a business deal." Oliver moved closer, close enough to see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes. "I'm not asking you to pick up where we left off. Too much has changed. But I am asking for a chance to build something new, something that honors both who we've become and what we once meant to each other." Sophia set the proposal aside and looked around at the treehouse, at the careful joinery, the thoughtful details, the evidence of hours of patient labor. "You know," she said finally, "most people would have hired someone to build this after the first week." "I'm not most people," he replied, "at least not anymore." "No," she agreed, a genuine smile warming her face. "You're the man who builds things that last." The morning light filtered through the windows they had installed together, casting a golden glow across the wooden floor. Outside, the world of quarterly reports and stock prices continued its frantic pace. But inside this sanctuary they had created together, Oliver and Sophia found themselves standing on a foundation strong enough to support whatever they might choose to build next, together.